You see, this awakening in the dream, in a state of wretchedness, it's about conversion, isn't it? Being born again, there's an abrupt halt to, and a miraculous beginning or entering into the fullness of the transcendent life. In a more stretched out version is when you fall in love and you find yourself in no time so taken with this hopeful partner to be that you're totally preoccupied with such. And the world is just transformed. As I say, you can hear the birds singing, see the trees, the freshness of the morning. I see your face in every sunrise. The colours of the morning are in your eyes. It's the act of God that rescues us from ourselves. We can't do it. This is the whole point. There's no amount of practice, be it meditation or yoga or prayer even, because you pray for the wrong things. And anyway, it's fanciful, given your state of mind, you see. It's God that rescues, and yet he sent us into the world and prayed for us in John 17. It's all there. Sent as he is sent, which, as I see it from John 17, can only mean to give them your word. Jesus is saying, tell them that you are Dad, that God is your heavenly Dad, and established, I gather, thereby the relationship that such entails, and all the blessing and infinite life eternal that follows from it. In my own experiences, I was seeking, I was reading autobiography of a yogi, and I'd been reading the Gita, bits of it, and possibly stray bits of Buddhist religion previously. It's not that I was unencouraged in my searching, but I just knew I was searching. Whereas the conversion for real was not a religious thing either, but simply the realization, my goodness, I actually want God to exist. God to exist. What sort of God, you might say? Well, presumably something consistent with what I valued. Perhaps it was, care of creatures or care of mankind, the poor. Perhaps it was something more blatant, like Paramahansa's choosing to be vegetarian. I can't remember now, but if I was reading some of the earlier stuff, he loses his mum, doesn't he, at the age of 11. What came home to me about the goodness of God that I should suddenly want God to exist? I guess lingering with someone, or Paramahansa in this case, in his autobiography, who both believes in God and has my values. So now I could make the link, couldn't I? I mean, I'm analysing it in hindsight, but do you see? I'm fascinated by this Indian, spiritual Indian. I find he has values similar to my own and believes in God. Oh. In other words, he's making concrete the notion that my values and God's are actually the same. At least the God he's talking about, or giving me the impression of. So yes, of course, I suddenly realise I want God to exist. So the achievement of the autobiography, from my point of view, which sets it apart, or singularly makes it stand out at least, as a pinnacle of achievement as regards relating the person of God to what the reader values. I think it was that. I mean, in this hindsight analysis, not quite sure why I'm preoccupied with it at the minute. Hopefully I'll come around to it. I suppose it's a way of, a bit like my dad's best friend's wife. I think she was the wife of, he was a headmaster, good chap. But she says to me, you'd be surprised, Marshall, that your values and Christian values, she was, of course, earnest Christian, you see, are not so different. You'd find a lot that you agree with. Oh, really? She was laying the way back then, wasn't she? Good few years earlier, but it got through to me, of course. It spoke to me. She was already, wasn't she, bridging the gap between my view of me and my view of God. She was sewing them together carefully. Lovely girl, bless her. Paramahansa was outstanding in this, and I think Kriyananda too, in being able to come alongside people and them feel that they had met a best friend, someone that they really relate to. Well, of course, the church, for instance, does this. Any potential new person on the premises gets love swamped with, we're so delighted to see you and do come again, and, we can't do enough for you, and it's a bit blatant there. But it's meant with good intent, of course. It's because the members want to rescue, ideally, the new person that's on the premises, so to speak. So it's instructive of how we're sent. And, we have the notion, don't we, that Jesus didn't keep himself away from sinners, as the doctrine would like to label them. But reached out in compassion and love and kindness. A friend, you see. That's your ministry, just be a good friend, whether it's to your spouse, your kids, your neighbours, your church people if you belong to such a thing. Just be a good friend. That speaks reams of goodness into their life and being. You come to the rescue. And yes, I don't have the answer as to how I can ensure that God comes to my rescue in my dreams. I can only trust that He will continue to do so in His love and kindness. Here I stand. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.
Goodness, did I say you can't do it? I'll tell you what you can do. You can seek good company. Like Paramahansa all his life, hunted out every saint and wonder worker he could think of. Well, godly wonder worker, not just wonder worker. You can do that. You can keep good company. You can keep good environment. You can choose the music you listen to, the words you hear, the people you listen to, the talks you're subjecting yourself to, the membership that you subject yourself to. You can choose. You can choose not to as well. You can keep away from what you see at present as bad and gravitate to what you see as present as all that's good and lovely. You'll find suddenly one day, like Marshall, by the lake, the enchanted lake, you've been born again. You've changed. You're a different person. And I say it myself. Wonderfully. Wonderful. An act of God in you, on you, through you, by Him, by His loving presence. The whole world is singing to you. You're in love in a spiritual, cosmic way. You've entered into life, life eternal. You're still a child, it's still very new to you, but my goodness. Now you know you're a child of God and everything starts to fall into place. God is not just God, but loves you and loves His creation. Loves all that He's made. And so do you. You know it. You just feel the blessing of it. You're flying. And people pass you by that know you and think, goodness, he's changed. Is he away with the fairies or what? What's happened to him? Is he in love? Yes, but not quite in the way you think. In an eternal love, it's the only partner that is actually right for you. The rest are all representations of and practice and good intention, don't get me wrong. Very good, very noble. But not your ultimate calling. Your ultimate calling is to God. A perfect partner beyond, utterly beyond all imagination. Faithful and true, loving and kind. You sing the praises of God because you're in love with Him. And you are blessed. Bless you. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.